There
In
he is.
there.
What's up? What's going on? You there? I got you now.
Oh gosh.
All right. Yeah, I think the connection's not good. Oh boy. All right. So I'm gonna do an intro real quick of
Oh
how
gosh.
we know
Can you
each
hear
other,
me?
man. So I first met Will. We were on fan patrol for the Philadelphia 76ers. That was like our internship that we did, and then we just had a great bond, remained friends and all throughout college and all at Temple University. Shout out STHM.
Yes,
And
sir.
then yes, so we just kept that bomb. Yeah, we also did a couple jobs too with the Sixers. So Will's still with the Sixers too, which is great. He handles the mascot affairs and all. So I got to be in the inside of it too. So it's a real grind for that definitely.
In the front lines, man. It's crazy times.
It's nuts. Hopefully we get sports back soon. Praying, fingers crossed.
Yeah, you and I both, man.
Oh my God! All
I'm
right,
trying.
so all right, so let's talk about how you came up with this idea to start your own company, like your passion behind it.
Absolutely. So, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No
It's,
problem, man.
uh, this is definitely something I've wanted to do for a while, ever since you started it on Monday.
I know.
But
I didn't expect it to be this. I mean, like I started it for fun, and I was even telling you too on Sunday that I just wanted to start and see where it goes, and all of a sudden, like people see my passion with boxing. The boxers are loving it too. So I kind of want to do like a switch up a little bit, just take a little break from boxing just for tonight. We're gonna
just
go
for
back
tonight,
in the boxing. Yes.
for the
So I
for
wanted
the
to give
celebrity booking.
yeah, yeah, it's just to give you a some love on what you do and all, and then to spread some awareness and all too. Yeah,
Appreciate you. So,
problem.
as Joe mentioned, I'm the founder of Nebula Media Group, and so it's an accessibility consultancy. So it sounds really complex. It's not that complex. Essentially, we work to try and make online content and websites accessible for people with disabilities.
Hmm.
And this is something that I've been really passionate about for a really long time because I'm the youngest in my family, and
Hmm.
all three of my older siblings have intellectual disabilities. So my two brothers are on the autism spectrum, and my sister has Down syndrome. So I saw from a really early age how they really weren't able to fully interact with the world around them.
Hmm.
And I didn't see it as they weren't able to do things. I saw it as the world was made inaccessible around them. And what kind of sparked all of this is seeing them participate in sports. They participated active in the Special Olympics. My brother was a part of a community theater program that he still does to this day. And so just seeing how sports was able to really empower them and give them the ability to not, to do anything that they wanted to do,
Uh-huh.
it gave them a platform to do what they do now. They have independent skills. They're living on their own. They're doing a lot of really great things, and sports and entertainment were kind of the baseline for that. So growing up, that was a big thing for me to see, and ended up starting a Special Olympics chapter in my high school. Ended up going to Temple, where I met you, moved out to
Yes.
Philadelphia, all of that, to study sports management. And that's kind of led me to this point, like where I've been able to get a lot of unique experiences from working with the Sixers to going to New York and working for an agency, and everything kind of just brought me back to my roots
Okay.
of this of I wanted to make the world a better place through inclusion, through diversity and inclusion.
Hmm.
And the ways that you can do that, there's so many different ways you can do that,
Right.
and that's kind of the basis of what my company is.
Okay. And so obviously we know how hard Temple is. For people that don't know, it's a real grind, especially in
It
STHM. It's a
is.
lot of group where there's a lot thrown at you, but it makes you the business person and the person you are today for true. And that Temple Tough slogan lives on, not
That's
in
true.
the athletic department, but even in the business too. Like, you got to be Temple Tough. Like, I'm very fortunate with what Temple taught me and all too. So my question about that is, so like which interaction, because we usually have to do a lot of internships or what is it called, the industry hours. So which
Yep.
one, or even a class, even if it was like a gen ed class or something, like what class made you feel comfortable where like it clicked in your head, like, you know what, I think it's time for me to build my company and to start working on it? Like, was there a certain class or a certain impact that you had like on an internship that made you want to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's two things that come to mind right away. The first is I interned and volunteered at a small organization called Access Sports Experiences.
Okay.
And Access Sports essentially provides tickets to people with disabilities so they can attend sporting events. And that experience was really cool because I was able to kind of be on the front lines of seeing how people with disabilities were able to attend and maximize their experience at a sporting event.
Okay.
And I've kept in touch. I actually just talked with her today, the founder, Allison, and that baseline really started to show me that diversity and inclusion isn't just one box.
Right.
There's so many different avenues that you can go in, and that really kind of opened my eyes to the field of entrepreneurship and starting your own thing, because Allison started her own thing. And the most impactful class that I took was the second experience,
Okay.
and that was an entrepreneurship class called Starting Your Business in 100 Days.
Wow.
And it's literally exactly as it sounds, where the first week there were 30 people in the class, and we would sit around and everybody told like what their ideas were for their businesses. And the professor said, okay, great. And then at the end of the class, he said, have it be incorporated as an LLC by next week.
Oh, wow.
We're just like, what?
Jeez.
Excuse me? And so 20 people dropped out of the class. So
I
it turned in,
can imagine.
and so it turned into just 10 people that actually, like went in and started their own business.
Right.
And it was an unbelievable experience because the professor actually said that like in this class, since it's really unique that you're starting the business, you're actually going out and your homework is go get customers, to build a business plan, to do all of these things. And he said in his class that he's made a couple of millionaires by Thanksgiving. The semester starts in September, and
Yeah.
he's made a couple millionaires by Thanksgiving. And one of our classmates actually became a millionaire by Thanksgiving. It
That's
was it
wild.
was it was unbelievable kind of seeing that process work, and like
Yeah.
he was talking to us every week on different feedback and what he was trying to accomplish, and
Wow.
we actually helped him with a really key business decision that actually ended up being that key that got him that $1.5 million contract. And
That's
so
crazy.
it just what goes to show that like all you need is that one opportunity and that one break, and that just blew my mind. And so ever since then I've been all in on the field of entrepreneurship and trying to find a meaningful problem to solve that not only helps solve a problem but also means a
Right.
lot to me.
Okay. So what were some of the steps that you've taken? Like, do you have like a little team that you've started, or are you just a one-man show at the moment until it grows?
Right now, one man operation, so happy to look for more people. If there's
Yeah.
anybody on this stream that wants to join. But but I really wanted to get a full grasp and understanding of what the field entailed. And like I mentioned, ultimately it gets to 8 key different pillars
hmm
on how to promote diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm more than happy to talk about them kind of from start to finish,
Yeah,
but
sure.
there's opportunities that are in each of these sections. And so that's kind of the preface for this. Um, the first thing is, I'll just even start it by posing a question. What's the first thing that you do when you decide you want to go to a sporting event?
You start looking into tickets immediately.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you go online, you're looking for tickets, you're looking for game availability,
Hmm.
and not many people realize that this is actually a huge initial barrier for individuals with disabilities. Um, just picture like you wanted to go to a 76ers game, you wanted to go to a Temple basketball game, but every time you went to check out, even though there were tickets available, the button wouldn't click.
Right.
Or you would try and click next and the screen would go black.
Hmm.
You would get super frustrated. It would be like, what the heck is going on? I don't understand why this isn't working. Heck, to heck with it, I'm not even going to go to the game. This is the experience that a lot of individuals with disabilities see on a daily basis, either due to a vision impairment or hearing impairment, some kind of motor impairment. They're not able to go from start to finish to actually purchase a ticket to go
Hmm.
to a sporting event. And that was really fascinating to me because they have individuals with disabilities have disposable income. They are sports fans. They want to get engaged in the experience. Why is that barrier there? And so that was something that I've dove into for the past 2 years to really understand why websites and platforms like that aren't made accessible to people with disabilities. And that's just the first pillar. Like you're
Right.
not even providing an equal playing field to allow them to even come to the event. And that's the first pillar. And then the second pillar is you purchase the ticket, you're going to go to the game.
Hmm.
Like you're aware, like you don't have a car. How are you going to get there? You're
Right.
going to take an Uber or Lyft or public transportation.
Right.
Not having an accessible mode of transportation is the second pillar, like actually getting
Right. Actually
to
getting
the
it.
venue. And then once you get into the venue, are you in a wheelchair and there's a step to get into the building? There's so many little things that many people don't consider when you're looking at it from a disabled fan experience of, wow, like maybe this isn't an accessible venue experience.
Right.
So, does the facility have lowered platforms for people with wheelchairs to wheel up to? Do they have closed captioning if you're not able to hear what's going on during the game? If
Uh-huh.
you have sensory issues, is there options available for you to be able to enjoy the experience at the venue without getting overwhelmed by all of the lights, sounds, effects, everything that's happening? So that is a huge pillar that really kind of impacts people going into this experience. Um, those are kind of the two main cogs of actually having people with disabilities engage with a live sporting event. The rest of them kind of talk more about the actual initiatives that are being done, but don't want to talk for hours upon end. But that's kind of the first two steps in really acquiring and maintaining a disabled fan.
Okay. And then what else was I going to ask? Have you started like to bring in awareness to Nebula? Like, have you started like social media or anything, or is there like a website where like if the followers want to grab some more information from you?
Your question cut out a little bit.
Oh yeah. I know it's with the connection. Okay, so no, I was saying so like if the followers are interested, like to bring more awareness and all, is there like website or do you have like a social media handle that you're using for Nebula?
Not right now. And the purpose right now is that we're trying to make sure that we have everything in line to be able to really kind of push forward
Okay.
because uh, I'm a one-man operation,
Right, of
and
course.
and it's pretty tough to be able to try and handle all of those things, especially with the season going on right now.
Right, yeah, of
But
course.
the number one focus that we've had right now is getting our services out into the marketplace and seeing what people are reacting to it.
Right.
And that's kind of been the initial phase that I've been doing right now.
Okay. Have you been doing a lot of test runs or anything on like businesses, or have you had like any type of sponsors that were able to help you with anything on this?
Yeah, it's a lot of it was done through quality research,
Okay.
and it really kind of started when I was at Temple, being able to talk with individuals throughout all different areas of the disability and sports world, being able to see, okay, what organization are you running? What are you seeing from your perspective, and what can be improved? And the ways that that I've mentioned before are going from the ticket purchasing experience to the in-game experience to the programming experience. And the first thing that I really wanted to pinpoint was what are those distinct fields. And that's been something that's kind of taken me all over the place and been able to talk with a lot of different people in a lot of different areas.
Uh-huh.
And the one that I found that was really fascinating, especially in Philadelphia, was the actual programming that all of the professional sports franchises do. So an example is, the 76ers. Not many people are aware that they have a wheelchair basketball team, the McGee
Right.
Spokesman. And they're extremely talented. They've gone to the national tournament, the past 3 years, but not many people are aware of that fact.
Right.
And when I spoke to their head coach, they're still wearing jerseys that have the old 76ers logo on it.
Yeah.
And so there's things like that that not many people are even aware of. And you even go to something like the Flyers. One thing that I was really surprised to find out is that the Flyers actually have a sled hockey team.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Exactly. So like not many people are aware that these programming initiatives are out there. And those are extremely powerful resources to be able to leverage into showcasing, hey, we have disabled fans, we have people that are actually participating in your sport, and we want to showcase what they're capable of. And those are two prime examples, but I can even go further and state like the Philadelphia Union. They are working with the Special Olympics on a
Right.
national partnership, having a
Yeah.
unified team where they have individuals with and without disabilities
Mhm.
playing on the same team. And that initiative has grown exponentially. Almost, I believe it's 1/3 of all of the teams now actually have their own unified team, but nobody knows about it.
Right.
That's the kind of the interesting thing that I've discovered is that there's these great initiatives that organizations are doing, but they're not leveraging it and showcasing that, hey, we're offering these services, we're showcasing that we are inclusive, but um, that's kind of what I've observed.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's actually really interesting you bring up with the Sixers because I didn't even know about that. Because I know about the Philadelphia Union because they usually have a, a team that they usually have. It's like once a year. Well, I'm sure the league's longer, but they always have something that's like once a year. That whether the so for instance, like they had the Colorado Rapids, so they went out, so they flew the kids out with the team, and then afterwards they had a nice like scrimmage slash season game against each other
Yep,
after the Union played the Rapids, which was pretty cool. So like, yeah, I feel like the organizations should maybe promote that a little more, like on the downtime. But like, especially like this would be great where like Nebula comes in too, where you could build maybe a partnership and you could start doing like social media posts to bring awareness to go and support people. You know.
absolutely. And that even goes back to, what Nebula Media is all about. For instance, like we're communicating here on Instagram Live, but this platform right now isn't fully accessible.
Right.
If somebody that was hearing impaired was trying to engage with this Instagram Live, they would just see us talking.
Right.
They don't have access to live captioning,
Right.
and that is a barrier in itself. And you see it time and time again with organizations that are posting.
My cat keeps
There's
jumping
Ra-
back outside.
there
I
he
have no idea
goes.
why she's doing
He's
that.
going back and
She's
forth.
like,
I'm seeing a tail jump
she's
out
been,
from behind your head.
she's like been good all day and sleeping, and of course when we're talking, she's jumping back and
Oh,
forth.
it's the nightcap show, man. That's what we
Yeah,
do.
it really is.
But the point being, organizations are posting content that in itself is inaccessible. If you're having a press conference that you're showcasing on your social media,
Right.
there aren't captions that are on it. If you're posting a podcast episode, do you have a transcript that people are able to interact with and engage with on that level? There's so many little nuances that organizations kind of disregard right off the top that immediately makes a piece of content inaccessible and showcases that we're not even trying to be inclusive.
Right.
So that's kind of been a really interesting thing to observe. Even things with sports highlights, like if you're not able to hear the broadcasters, exclaiming what's going on during the game, what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of ties into a conversation that I had with a professor that's actually at Westchester University. So he's blind, and he's a huge sports fan, and he has attended a few Eagles games this past season. And even though he's visually impaired, he still enjoys being at the stadium and enjoying the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not actually able to see what's going on in the field. But the stadium has prohibited allowing the radio broadcast to be played anywhere inside the arena or the stadium.
Oh yeah.
So
Interesting.
it's kind of an interesting perspective to see, like, he's actually there wanting to engage and being a part of the whole fan experience, but he's not able to listen to Merrill Reese giving the play-by-play. So there's these fundamental differences that these different sports and organizations kind of disregard right off the bat.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's been really interesting to hear that, and I'm really glad that you're taking the initiative and all. Like, are you in the final steps of everything, or is there still a ton of work to do? Because of course, like, it's kind of interrupted because, like, I know you put in full weeks in sports, because I know what it's like putting in the weeks too, with, like, especially at Trenton Thunder and all. It's like very tiring. So like, how close are you, or are you still like not too far off from launching?
So Nebula Media itself has launched.
Okay.
And that is that very first pillar of actually providing that inclusive experience online. And the way that I see it, the plan that I have built out, is that also has the biggest opportunity to scale, because web accessibility applies to all types of businesses. Any business that doesn't have a website that is accessible or a piece of content that is accessible is susceptible to. There's actually been a 200% increase in web accessibility lawsuits just in the past year. And it's really kind of surprising, because there was a study done of the top 1 million websites for web accessibility, and 98% of websites failed basic accessibility testing. So 98% of businesses are susceptible to being sued for not having an accessible website.
That's crazy.
And it's like you said, like right off the bat, you're showcasing that you're not an inclusive organization,
right,
by doing that. And that's this huge focus on lawsuits has been a really big issue. Like big time organizations, like even Beyonce's website actually got sued last year for not being accessible.
Oh, wow.
And other notable examples include Target. Target's e-commerce website wasn't accessible.
That's crazy.
Domino's Pizza just lost a Supreme Court case about not having their website be accessible. And then there was one that was all over Barstool Sports. It was Pornhub got sued because they didn't have closed captioning.
Right.
So it absolutely blew my mind seeing that these big time organizations
Yeah.
weren't able to showcase that they were accessible. And so this isn't happening to just these major organizations. It's also happening to these super small mom and pop shops.
Right.
Like, for instance, I was working with an organization, it's actually a newspaper that produces content on disabled stories, disabled interest stories. And they got sued despite serving the disability community. They got sued for not having an accessible website. So all of these things kind of tie in together, showcasing that, look, this is a big issue because you're going to get sued, you're going to pay hefty fines, and you're going to showcase that you're not welcome to the disability community.
Right. It's just crazy that like companies like that, like especially big corporate ones, like they're not taking the time to just make sure they're hitting everything that's like a simple checklist. Just you need to make it available for everybody. Like it's just crazy that they don't take the time to do that, you know? It's nuts.
Exactly. And that's what our solution offers. It offers that instant solution. It uses the power of artificial intelligence to actually make those adjustments automatically to a website. And so that's been the ultimate goal has been we want to make sure that we are making the internet as accessible as possible. And once we do that, we're then able to reinvest that money into all of these things that we've talked about before, providing an inclusive fan experience, providing inclusive hiring practices, helping teams with their community outreach initiatives to make sure organizations like the 76ers wheelchair basketball team is funded and has awareness and a bunch of support.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of different things that come in that go into this, and I think web accessibility is really the first. While it's a boring topic,
Right. Now,
it's
yeah,
still an interesting topic
yeah, it's
because
very
it's needed.
all right, yeah. Trying to think what else. I mean, we have pretty much hit everything. Is there anything that you would like to shout out or anything to followers? Like, do you need? Are you looking for help or anything? I mean, like, of course, everybody's looking for help. But is there anything like you're looking for maybe like an intern or someone that's like looking for a little like small work? Like, is there anything that you're specifically looking for assistance? For whether it's the
Definitely.
website, social media, or anything.
Absolutely. I'm looking for people all the time that are willing to make introductions and are willing to see that this is the way of the future, that we're looking to make the web accessible to all, and we're looking to put forth, as many hands on deck as possible because web accessibility applies to everybody, just like COVID-19 is
Right.
applying to everybody right now. And it's really important because even though I have that personal experience of having siblings with disabilities, it's important. There's a quote that's kind of stood true with me that society moves forward when people take an interest in causes that don't directly affect them. And that's been the big foundation that's really been pushing me forward, has been looking at what can we do to do better, to do more, to take that next step and go to the next level because this is something disability applies to everybody. You never know if you could potentially become disabled one day. And wanting to have that equity and that equal playing field is really important.
Of course. All right, yeah. So let everybody know your Instagram handle in case they want to reach out to you
Uh,
for help or anything, yeah, or
Absolutely.
more information, yeah.
It's at Will Bubenik, Bubenik. Feel free to reach out. I am on a Zero Dark 30 Instagram hiatus, but Showtime always makes me come out of the hiatus for this live performance. But feel free to reach out or even reach out to Joe directly, and more than willing to have anybody come out and help.
For sure. Thank you so much for your time. Of course, I'll probably be talking to you probably in 20 minutes or something about something crazy.
Something like that, I know.
Something like that.
Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Yeah, sure. It's not a problem. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you.
Talk to you.
All right. So that was my good friend Will. So we learned about Nebula, how he's working with people with disabilities on how to make them have a more accessible life, whether it's online or purchasing tickets and all too. Just having a great experience at a sporting event, or also doing some internet shopping as well too. Will's definitely looking for help. So you can leave me a DM if you're looking to reach out to help him. Yeah, just send me a DM, or you could text me or whatever if you have my number. So